All right, y'all, part 10. But before I get to the whole thing in California, while I was in Illinois, it was crazy. So this was like pandemic. I was able to find work. My high school sweetheart family, things was a little odd, but a door was opened for me, and I ended up going to stay with his aunt while I was there. And this is during the time my grandmother's health really deteriorated. It was to the point where the cancer, because she had stomach cancer. I shared that the cancer place called, but I didn't tell what type of cancer. I can't think of the exact name, but I know it was stomach cancer. And then she was dealing with the heart issues, and it was doing something with her eyes. She lost a lot of weight. She was just sickly. So, but I thank God that in December 2019, I was able to spend her last Christmas with her. I thank God for that. I thank God for that. So I was able to spend that last Christmas with her. And then if I'm not mistaken, months before that, no, and then shortly after that, before going to California, I would say whatever the holiday was, okay, because June, that was my birthday, May, April, maybe April-ish, I was able to see her again before she passed away. So I thank God for that. April of 2019. No, April 2020, y'all. Lord have mercy. Time to shoot. Yeah, April 2019. Yeah, April 2020, y'all. I'm tripping. April 2020. So I was able to do that with her and everything. And then eventually I was staying with my high school sweetheart's aunt. And she's a nurse. And her husband is a Freemason. So it's like I don't go around discriminating. But it's, I'm used to the family. But I already... By this time when they met me, because it's like, I'm a firm believer that when people know you, for instance, you can meet someone in 1999, right? And then you be like, dang, it's been years. And then the next time you see them is in 2015. That's a whole different person. Well, hopefully. But you see what I'm saying? So who they were then and who they are now. So that's what I'm saying. When I went back, it was totally different. And not only that, I was at a whole nother level spiritually. And I knew who I was. So just my approach to different things was completely different. And not only that, just my prayers and being aware of darkness and witchcraft and understanding like how some Freemasons get down. All these different things. Years ago when they first met me and when I was around, when I was, dating their nephew and all that, it was a little different. So it's like the attacks wasn't, if there were attacks, I didn't see them. But then coming back, it was like, okay, I peep it. So it's just like, but I was still cordial. They were still like family and everything. But things were just getting weird. And it was getting crazy and demonic. It was to the point where, her husband, like I stated, is a Freemason. Like some of his friends was being odd towards me. Like trying to, there were times they were trying to use the intimidation tactic. And I'm not, no shade to the Freemasons. But I've come across some men, whether they're Freemasons or not, but a lot of them, they consider themselves that. They do this, they try to operate in intimidation. I'm like, a true man don't do that. Yeah, I said it. A true man don't go around trying to intimidate no woman. Or, and then that narcissism, that control, like, I'm like, I stayed to myself. I'm like, yeah, it was just some weird stuff. But I was able... During the pandemic, I found a job. I was a regional recruiter in Illinois. So that means I was going around hiring people for this company that goes to stores, retail stores, to do inventory. So it was my job to hire people, take care of I-9, do the trainings, get them assigned to supervisors. I enjoyed that job. That was like one of my best jobs ever because it's like I'm big on helping people. And knowing that I was in a seat of power to actually help someone get a job, to receive payment, especially during the pandemic. And some of these people, by the time I got the job in January 2020. I got this job in January 2020. And then by the time when I got in the job, I was reaching out to people who submitted applications and nobody ever reached out to them from September 2019 or before that. And many of them were thanking me like, oh, thank you for reaching out to me and all that. Because that's what I do. Because I understand a lot of people don't do their job all the time. Some people have do the stuff. So that's what I'm always big on. Let me backtrack and make sure that this person did what they were supposed to do. I'm big on setting people up for success, not failure. And many times we see that on jobs, and we see this in different situations where a person will give you information, hold out on some information just to make you fail, or just because they feel like it's irrelevant, or because they're just lazy as hell. Yeah, I said it. So I did that. I was able to reach out to these people, get them hired onto jobs. I enjoyed that. And then the pandemic was really kicking in. It was times where I just stayed in a hotel. I just wanted to get away from the house and everything. It was just like a vacation away from a vacation, like just a space of my own. And One day, I kid you not, I came, and his aunt's name is Bernita Jones, and the uncle is Byron Jones. You know, I don't really want to disclose their kids' names, but their names are key. So I get there, and my stuff is outside. Outside. And it was like, because they claimed it was because it was the pandemic. And keep in mind, she's a nurse, so she was just like, oh no, you know, you can't stay here anymore. But I already knew in my spirit she was looking for a reason to tell me to leave. I was even to the point where I tried to come up with a lease when I was there. And they was like, you family, what do we need a lease for? I'm just going to be transparent with y'all. Side note, I'm big on professionalism and documenting everything. I don't care if it's a family friend. I don't give a dang. And that's why a lot of y'all have the situations y'all have. Because y'all be like, oh, this is a family member. That's a friend. We don't need no legal documentation. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And then not only that, because I was there for a while now. And I could see why they didn't want to do that lease. Because technically I could afford it, because I'm like, I had built residency there, and it was during the winter time, and it was during the pandemic. Now I can see if I tested positive, but I didn't. You see what I'm saying? So it was like but God was like, just let that be. And I don't even know if Jerron, Jackie, I don't even know if English, I don't even know if they know the full story of how that residency, me staying with Jackie, if Jackie knows me staying with her sister, how it ended. This is the truth. I pray to God they see this. But I came there and my stuff was outside. And I didn't even have no hustle puff. Like, I didn't go off, because that's not my character. I just put the stuff in the car. And I literally had to sit there, or just I drove off because I didn't even want to sit in the parking lot. The driveway, I mean. I was like, let me just get off the property. So I drove like a few blocks down, looking up a hotel. And from there, it was just like I was working. I mean, luckily I was able to work from home because the laptop I could log in. So it was like, even with the pandemic, I was still able to do my job. But I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and just choose a hotel. So that's what I did for a few months until something happened. Because the car, how can I put it? Let me see. Something happened with, no, my car was fine. And it was started having issues and everything. Okay, I'm speeding up the story. Okay, let's see. Okay, speed it up. Okay, so from there, I was in there. Oh yeah, and my grandmother. So before I went up, I said California. I'm sorry. Let me rewind, y'all. Because before California, it was Jacksonville, Florida. Ha! Lord, thank you, God. So like I said, that last April 2020, I was able to see my grandmother. And then, I would say June, 2 days before my birthday, June 11th, 2020. I kid you not. It was different things going on. Financially, I couldn't really afford the hotel. I know I was on and off to like talking to my younger brother, and this is before it got real bad. This is before I really found out he really betrayed me, and he just went to the dark side completely. Like, but it was one of those things like, oh, you know, I hear, you know, and he was like, I was told that you need housing. You're having issues with housing, and that just confirmed. I knew he was into communication with Janice, which is my like I said, my father's older sister. Because, let me rewind it. I went to that house asking to stay in my grandmother's house. And the house that she left me, coming to find out, I just found that out completely this year, confirming that house was left to me. I went there. At the time, I didn't know that. I knew something in my spirit, like, wait, okay. Y'all, this story's all, woo, rewind. My grandma was still alive. When I went to the house to try to stay there, she was deceased at the time. So, let's rewind it. Okay, so, going to Jacksonville. So I was in the backyard. I decided to stay in my car. And then that day, I kid you not, June 11, 2020, that day, my window wouldn't even go down. My driver window. It just stopped working. And I'm like, this is crazy. You know, and then my aunt, they came back and they was like, yeah, we just came back from the hospital because your grandma just went to the hospital, emergency tonight. And I'm like, it was like the time, like God wanted me to be there. I didn't know she was in the hospital until later on that evening when they got there. And they was like, hey, Grandma was in the hospital. And then my aunt, the younger aunt, Tanya, came out and she's like, are you going to go in? I was like, no. Something in my spirit wouldn't let me go. Like, God was like, just stay in your car. One, because my window wouldn't go down and I didn't trust that, especially in the neighborhood. And I'm like, no. I'm like, that's like leaving my children or my child with someone just random. I'm like, I know I would take care of my stuff the way it needs to be taken care of. I'm not about to put trust in somebody else and then y'all try to mess something up. And I'm like, this is literally how I get by. This is how I get around. And I'm like, yeah. I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. So I was like, no, I'm just going to stay in the car. She was like, all right. And I would say June 12th, that morning, early morning, I would say like 6 something in the morning. I woke up. I was like, I know I need to go to Jacksonville. I needed to take that drive. So I went in to use the bathroom. I didn't even go in the room because I knew my grandmother was asleep and my grandfather was asleep. I didn't even knock on the door. I didn't want to see her like that. But I knew, I felt in my spirit, she knew that was the last time. I was, whew. I just knew. She knew. And I knew her time was coming. And the memories I wanted was that last Christmas in April when I seen her and when I stayed with her. God did not want me, I'm telling you, God did not want me to see her like that. So I ended up driving to Jacksonville, Florida, and it was a surprise. I ended up popping up on my brother and everything, and then I got there. And just when I got there, it was like, he kind of flipped the script. Like, it started off cool, but then he mentioned something about, oh, you should have called, like, before you got here. Just different things like that. Keep in mind, we haven't seen each other in years. And something else I need to put out there, he went to the Navy. And ever since he went to when he went to the Navy and came back, I knew it was something totally different from my brother. I was like, something ain't right. So he went to the Navy, and then that's where he met his wife, and they were living in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'm thinking like it'd be excitement, and then not only that, he invited me. He was like, hey, you can come stay here. It was just a surprise. Like, I took him up on the offer, but I just surprised him. So that was that. It started off a little cool, but then it started becoming dark. Like, the room that I was in, it had like a dream catcher on it. Then throughout the house, they had like different things, like the Buddha thing. And I remember how me and my brother was raised. We were raised Baptist, but everybody, once they become adults, they start having their own spiritual walk with God. But I just felt in my spirit, like, yeah, it's going to be some friction. Like, my beliefs and that, so, of course, I wasn't going around being a Bible thumper, but I just knew, especially when it came down to his wife. I was like, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I'm always big on giving people the benefit of the doubt, being respectful. And like always, I stay to myself. I'm not here to cause drama. Stay to myself, but that was a problem. That was a problem in itself. It was times I remember, like, for the first time, because keep in mind, my older brother was the abuser. He was the one who got aggressive. It was one night, my younger brother, like, was just so mad, like, this close to my face. He was like, man, just arguing, because it's like he couldn't get the reaction out of me that he wanted while I was staying there. And this wasn't the first time, but it's just like every time he tried to get me to flip off, say something crazy just so he could just probably try to kick me out, it never could go his way. And not only that, me being spiritually alert, I peeped what was going on. I knew it was demonic. So and it was like every time, and then when he did do this, his wife was always on standby. Because what I've learned about those who consider themselves witches, oh, you thought I didn't know, Anna? Her name is Anna Randall. And then his name, I think her middle name is Marie. I don't know. But his name is Dion Carl Randall. So Dion, it's just like when he would be going off on a tangent, like saying stuff to me and everything, Anna would just be in a cut, like just watching. And it's something I've noticed about those who consider themselves witches. They always, like, when they do spells or try to get something stirred up, like a Jezebelic spirit, always on standby. Like, just trying to see if it's going to work. Just trying to see if someone's going to pop. You see what I'm saying? So it's like I already peeped the game, but I never announced it. So he in my face saying all this stuff, and then in that same conversation this one night, he was just like, and he was like, you too pure. Who says that? That it confirmed what I already knew spiritually. He says you're too pure. And I know he's a huge part of the things that I've been experiencing with witchcraft. Because believe it or not, because I shared this being born in an occult, not just my dad's side, not just on my mom's side, but even when it comes down to my siblings and my younger brother, who's technically my half brother, they dabble in witchcraft. Doing spells, going to practitioners, trying to figure out what's going on in my life. I'm talking about even to this day. Wondering why I'm not dead because of insurance policies, illegal insurance policies. Literally trying to take me out for years for money. Stealing my inheritance. Trying to make me deem as crazy. Trying to get me to kill myself. I'm telling you, I'm giving you all these facts. So he told me that you're too pure. I didn't even get offended. I left that alone. So that was that, and that was short-lived. And then he was like, hey, December 2020. And I already wanted to go. I was already planning to leave, but it just confirmed it. So I was just like, all right, cool. So December 2020, I headed back to Illinois. And kid you not, the male friend that I knew for some years, he was always cool, always down to earth. So when I got in town, I stayed in a hotel a little bit, and this man, like, he's always doing different things. And when we were cordial, and I would say we dated, and then it was just like, I guess he considers me someone that he lost. meaning a great woman, but he ended up going to a karmic, or what y'all want to call it. He ended up selling for something else, right? But we just remained cordial, and we didn't talk all the time. But it's like when we reconnected, it was always cool. Like, you know, y'all get it. Sometimes you reconnect with somebody, so it's like, oh man, what's up? So the house that I remember he had, he's like, oh, I'm actually selling this house. I moved somewhere else, and he was with someone. I'm like, oh, cool. And I shared with him what I was going through. He's like, oh, you can stay here for a little bit. I found work, everything. So it wasn't like I'm just sitting in the house just twiddling my thumbs. So he allowed me to stay in that old house for a few days or a few weeks while I was working this assignment. Man, I met the woman he's with, and I could tell he got tainted because it was like his whole delivery, like it was cool, but then she came over and she wanted to fight. Like, I kid you not, it was crazy. I think her name is Tatiana. Oh, I told you everybody's getting out. His name is Equeer. Equeer Acorico. So again, like, he hasn't did anything extremely wrong to me, but that woman, when she came over, I mean, she wanted to fight. Like, she was just like, who are you and everything. I didn't even try to introduce myself. I already know her name. She didn't know about me. I didn't know she knew about me. And she's like, oh, you're the one he said got away. Now, I was confused. I didn't realize these were conversations they were having. I'm like, and we haven't talked in years, me and the queer. That's the whole thing. I'm like, wait, what? The woman that... So that was awkward for me. And I'm like, now I can see why she probably looking the way she looking. Because I'm like, I was unaware of this. I was unaware of the conversations or the arguments or whatever it is going on in your household. Like, it ain't one of the things about just in general. It's not my fault of the things that people that they can't get over me. It's not my fault of the narrative they got in their mind. That ain't got nothing to do with me. My life, I move on. I'm not sitting around like calling nobody up. So that was just awkward for me because I was unaware. You know, and then I guess he painted this picture as if we were still cordial. But again, we weren't cordial like that. We just reconnected shortly after I returned to Illinois. And it was only in December. Like, that's what I'm saying. It was shortly after I left Jacksonville. So I don't know how long that was going on, the conversations or him telling her this. But she was like, oh, you're the female that got away. You the one he said. And I'm like, it was just awkward. But anyways, so that was that. Of course, I didn't stoop to her level because, yeah, eventually she left and everything. I was able to stay there for 2 weeks and all that. I was working a little assignment, but then I started doing like, what was it? DoorDash. I started doing DoorDash and everything, getting around. During this time, before I came back to Illinois, my grandmother, when I was in Jacksonville, I would say August, that's when she passed away. But I knew she was holding on for me because they said when she went to the hospital at this time, everybody, my uncles, aunts, cousins, everybody was at the hospital. And I just felt she was holding on because she wanted me to be there. So I was like, I prayed. I'm like, Lord, send her this message. Let her know I forgive her because there's some things that it's attacks that I received that it was based on something she said that wasn't true. Like, for instance, I have a cousin named Asia who has a lot of daughters. And my grandmother shared with her one day when my brother, like my older brother, it was one time we had an altercation at my grandma's house and he put his hand on me and I called the cops. I sure did. I'm not about to fight you. So we was at my grandmother's house and he literally embarrassed me in front of at the time, I think he was my ex. He came over and everything, and then he came out there yelling at me for no reason. So then my ex eventually left, and I'm just walking off from my older brother, and then he walked me, because my grandparents were living in the house at the time. He walked to the backyard, and then literally was trying to fight me. He had me on the ground and was about to hit. I'm like, oh no. So I literally 911, and I called 911. I'm like, I'm not afraid to call the police. Again, this is Steven, the oldest brother. So I called the police. They came and everything. They asked for IDs and all that. I gave a report. I think they asked if I wanted to press charges. I ain't playing with nobody to this day. But anyways, I sure did. But I told him, I'm like, the route you're going, you're going to end up like our father. Look, I'm admitting it. I said it. My grandmother was standing there on the porch when I said it. And that hurt her heart when I said that. Because I'm like, my father was abusive. And that's how he ended up losing his life. It's the truth. The truth hurts. He was abusive. The last fight he had with my mom, the gun went off and it shot him. So the route my older brother was going, I'm like, you're going to end up like our father. I'm not saying I would have did it, but just knowing he go around hitting women. And then like that time with his first wife, I had to literally get him off of her. So when I said that, my grandmother heard that. And that's when she shared, I would say, I don't know if it was the same day, maybe a few days later. But she held on to that. And then my cousin Angel mentioned something about, it was some type of altercation. Something was going on. And she was like, and yeah, grandma told me that you basically threw one of my daughters on the couch. I was like, I didn't do that. And my grandma had this look on her face while she was sitting there in her recliner chair. And I knew it was based on because of what I said. So, like, I fast forward back to Jacksonville, I prayed, and that's what I told God. I'm like, let her know I forgive her for everything, especially the things said that wasn't true, and let her know it's okay to go. And then I was, whew. And then I would say maybe 3 to 4 days later, she passed. But I knew she was at peace. I knew God relayed that message. I knew my dad relayed that message. But y'all don't understand. I'm about to go to part 11.